Hello! Hi guys, it's Inam Ghafoor here with the Samsung Galaxy S4 versus the S4 Active. Now both these devices are very similar indeed, so we're going to take a look at how they compare against each other and the areas in which they differ. So beginning with the hardware and taking a look at the front of both these units here, you'll notice that the S4 Active has ever so slightly sharper corners than the regular unit, coupled with a slightly shorter and narrower earpiece compared with the regular handset, but the sensors along the top coupled with the 2 megapixel camera along the front of both these units are exactly the same. But that's kind of where the similarities end, because if we look towards the bottom of both these handsets, the S4 Active has physical buttons for the home, menu and back buttons, and comparable to the regular unit which has capacitive buttons for the menu and back, and the only physical button on the front of the unit is purely the home button. Although both devices incorporate a 5-inch screen with a resolution of 1920 by 1080, which brings up a density of 441 pixels per inch, that's where the similarities end, because the S4 Active incorporates a LCD TFT screen comparable to the regular S4, which incorporates a Super AMOLED capacitive touchscreen. Protecting the front of both these screens is also where the technology differs, because the S4 Active incorporates Corning's Gorilla Glass 2, comparable to Corning's Gorilla Glass 3 on the regular S4. Under the hood, similarities for both these devices include the same 1.9 GHz Qualcomm quad-core Snapdragon 600 CPU, 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB of internal storage, coupled with the same 2600 mAh battery. However, the S4 Active has an IP67 rating, which basically means you can put it in water up to a meter deep for upwards of 30 minutes at a time, and when you remove it, it'll have no issues at all. It'll work perfectly fine. But that IP67 rating doesn't come without some compromise, because as you'll see along the bottom here, where it is in the regular S4, the micro USB port, as you can see here, the S4 Active has a cover, simply a rubber cover which you can fold out like so, but nonetheless this can still be fiddly if you're not going to be using your S4 for its water protection capabilities. While we've got both the devices on top of each other here, you'll notice that the S4 Active is a couple of millimeters thicker and wider than its regular S4 brother. I'm just turning it around to the side profile here. You'll also notice that the S4 Active is again a couple of millimeters longer in length, but just bringing the phones in a little bit closer so you can get a feel for the texture on the volume up and down rockers on the S4 Active. You've got this rugged feel to it, and you can easily feel that it's the volume up and down rockers with this rigid look and feel to it, comparable to the regular S4's brushed metal-like finish. But if you have a look at the top of both these units here, you can see the components are in exactly the same place. So you've got the 3.5mm audio jack, the secondary noise cancelling microphone, and the infrared blasters all in exactly the same location. But notice there's no watertight cover on the 3.5mm audio jack on the S4 Active, because you do not require it in order for it to maintain its IP67 rating. And right round the other side here, you'll notice again the texture of the power button comparable to the regular S4, which has a brushed metal-like finish. I do like this rugged textured look on the S4 Active, though you can easily feel for the buttons when you're not actually looking at the unit. What the ruggedization is actually worth, coupled with the water resistancy certifications of the S4 Active, it actually feels really good in the hand. It feels premium, just purely down to the materials being used and this texture of these buttons, as well as the weightiness, because it's slightly heavier at 153 grams compared to the regular S4's 130 grams. With both the back covers off, you'll notice the same NFC enabled 2600 mAh battery, the same SIM card, the same micro SD card slot, as well as the same LED flash. But that's where the similarities end, because you'll notice on the S4 Active the external speaker is smaller than the regular unit, as well as the regular unit having a 13 megapixel shooter. This has been downsized on the S4 Active to be an 8 megapixel shooter. And while we're here, I just want to point out this silicone rubbery material used along the top and bottom of the S4 Active here. Certainly gives it a premium look and feel to the device while still maintaining its ruggedized image. You'll also notice this plastic pathway, or this ring, which goes right the way around the battery, the micro SIM card and the micro SD card slot on the back of the S4 Active here. And if I bring in the covers for both these handsets, you'll understand why that actually exists. You'll notice a silicone rubber seal which goes right the way around the same path that is carved out in the back of the S4 Active here. And what this essentially does is, when it's fully clipped in and you have all the clips secured on the back of the S4 Active here, it retains the device's IP67 water resistancy rating, and it even gives you a little sticker on the back here which you can remove, just telling you that there's one clip between the camera and the LED flash there that does also need to be clicked in, otherwise the device will not retain It's a IP67 water resistance rating, and if you dunk it in the water, you could potentially ruin your device. Software-wise, both these devices are exactly the same. Both are running Android Jelly Bean 4.2.2, as you can see there, but we still have our differences, because if we head over to storage, on the regular S4 here, you can see the total space showing as 9.25 gigabytes, and I have full access to that. I can completely fill it up if I want. But on the S4 Active here, you can see the total space showing as 16 gigabytes, but I don't have access to that full 16 gigabytes because the operating system is taking up 4.14 gigabytes. So it works out to be on the S4 Active, you have 11.2 gigabytes of storage space that you can actually use, which is still more than the regular S4. As well as the differences in storage, on the S4 Active under device, you also have an option for torchlight, which is not present on the regular S4. And what this essentially does, if I put the device to sleep, if you press the volume up rocker, it turns your phone into a torchlight, and you can turn it off by pressing the volume down rocker. This obviously can also be used underwater as well. Speaking of underwater, the S4 Active has a mode built into the camera application which allows you to take photographs underwater. Now, because when you're underwater, the screen becomes unresponsive. When you enter aqua mode, what this essentially allows you to do, apart from telling you to close the USB cover, is it allows you to use the physical volume up and down keys here as a shutter button to take photographs. So obviously once you want to take a photograph, press the button, it takes a photograph as normal. But for whatever reason, dual camera mode has been removed from the S4 Active, so you can no longer record videos using the front and rear facing cameras at the same time. So that's been the Samsung Galaxy S4 versus the Samsung Galaxy S4 Active. As ever, any comments or questions you guys have got, hit them up in the comment section down below there. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video and a lot what you saw. And if you haven't already done so, hit subscribe. It's also down there as well. Doesn't cost you a penny. And you can also check out some of our forthcoming videos. Thanks for watching. Have a wicked day, and we'll see you next time.